Serene Disciple Project at Egret Isle Farm, and it's spring in the garden. We had a dusting of snow night before last, and it stayed around long enough to see it here and there. So, you know, in south central Texas, that was winter. And so now, more importantly, it is February, and so it's time to start looking forward to the next growing season here in the garden. And so today, we're in the garden. You want to come along? All right, come on. This is the garden in winter. It looks like a mess, but it's really just resting. As I mentioned last week, the Swiss chard has just kept going from last year, so we'll leave it for now. Here is the asparagus, which takes 2 years to mature. This spring will start the second year, so we should see some edible sprouts soon. We'll give this a good weeding. Here are the beds I used for potatoes last year. The chickens have been rooting around and getting their dust beds here while adding their own fertilizer. Thank you very much. We'll leave it be for now as well. And here are the grapevines. They suffered a bad case of webworms last year, but rebounded late. Today we'll need to prune them back. And here's the blackberry patch. This also needs to be pruned. And finally, I'll give the garden a good tilling to break up the ground in order to make the most of the spring rains, which I really hope come. The fall rains in October never did show up, and the hunger stones I mentioned several weeks ago are still showing, and in fact, a second row is starting to be revealed as the water continues to recede. So it's a wall after all, and not just a row of stones. Well, got my heavy shirt and my elbow-length gloves that I also use for beekeeping. Keep myself from getting scratched by the blackberry vines. I guess there's nothing left to do but get started. Show you this close up before I started pruning the grapevines, and it's a very windy day, so I'm sorry if that gets in the way. So here down low, this is the rootstock of the grapevine, and you can see where I pruned a year ago about right now. You can see the stumps, but you can also see where last year's vines then grew out, and all the vines that you see along these trellises grew out last spring and summer. And so I want to clear away all of last year's vines and leave only the rootstock and a few little fingers sticking out. Well, why is that? Well, that's because as long and healthy as these vines are, they will never bear another grape. Grapes, the fruit, only comes from new vines. And so all these old vines would serve to do is take up nutrients and water and sugars that I want to go to the new vines, and then the fruit that they bear. So harsh as it may seem to the rootstock, getting rid of all the old vines is the only way to maximize the production of the grapes next fall and summer. So let's get started. Whew, that was a bit of work. I'm glad that it's done for another year. And there's a bit of old vine here, but it makes me wonder about life. I wonder what in my life or yours needs to be pruned away to make room for something new, something capable of bearing metaphorical fruit. Maybe it's a hobby. that just doesn't seem to be providing the benefit that it used to. Needs to be pruned away. Or maybe it's a social gathering or a group or a job or a way of thinking, understanding how things work that was genuinely useful in the past, but now not so much. It's old growth. I think Jesus talked about that, talked about the vine and the vine dresser, and he talked about pruning away vine or branches that had borne fruit in the past to make room for the bounty of the new growth. You know, it's not that this old vine has failed somehow. It's not that it's gone wrong. It's simply that it's done its job. In addition to bearing fruit last fall, it also helped strengthen the rootstock, the old rootstock in the ground, and the bit that comes out is stronger and bigger than it was, and this vine is partially responsible for that. But having done that, now it's time for it to go to make room. Because now that the rootstock is stronger, the old vine will put out even more and stronger new growth and bear more and better fruit if there's room. And I'm back to thinking about life. I wonder what needs to be pruned from my life. I wonder what needs to be pruned from your life. Well, something to think about here in the dormancy of winter. I'll see you next time.